You're listening to the NFPT podcast, where we help aspiring trainers pass their exams and launch their fitness careers. I'm Erin Mahoney, and today's topic is beginner client fitness assessments. These questions can trip people up mostly because they tend to overthink them. But when you know what to look for, it's a breeze. We're going to give you a sample CPT test question on beginner assessments. I'll read the question, give you some option answers, and then break down how you can rule out the incorrect answers and arrive to the best answer. So let's get started. Here's the question. Which fitness assessment is best for a beginner client? Is it a 1 rep max for a squat, B, a single leg squat assessment, C, a push up test, or D, a VO2 max test? I'll read it through again. Which fitness assessment is best for a beginner client? Is it a 1 rep max for a squat, B, a single leg squat assessment, C, a push up test, or D, VO2 max test? Now, all of these are considered fitness assessments, so off the bat, there's nothing that we can just completely rule out. Therefore, it truly is a choose the best answer question. And to start, given that VO2 max tests aren't conducive to most fitness facilities, so it's going to be highly unlikely that you'll be conducting this test. So, what we're going to do is we're just going to assume that VO2 max, D, is not the correct answer. That leaves us with 3 other options to choose from. Now, realistically, you could do most of these fitness assessments, and therefore, we're left with that deductive reasoning in a choose the best answer question. And this is where confidence in the NFPT learning model comes into play. You'll want to think through what will give a new client the most value during the assessment. For most new clients, you probably won't start right out with a direct 1 rep max test. But in all fairness, knowing their 1 rep max is important because it gives you baseline information and it helps you recommend the right starting weight and rep ranges for what you're trying to accomplish with them. So it could be the best answer if the other options were terrible and if you were using a 1 rep max calculator. But that's not the case. So let's keep going. We're going to assume that the 1 rep max is not the best answer. Let's take a look at the single leg squat assessment. This is a good and completely realistic assessment to do with a first time client, but we have to look at it comparatively to the other options before choosing it. A single leg squat assessment is only checking their balance and their lower body movement impairments. It definitely gets us closer to the right answer, but there's a better one to choose from. So let's check out the next option. A push up test. Now, the intent of a push up test is to assess muscular endurance. It's a good baseline assessment to reassess each month. And for a starting client, it gives you a general indication of their starting level. And what's great about a push up test is it's a pushing movement. So it also gives you a snapshot of movement impairments you might see with the upper body or the lumbopelvic hip complex. A lot of new clients have problematic movement dysfunction in their upper body. And this assessment is also a good choice because the client has to use their core to fight against gravity while doing the motion. This means you'll also get some valuable core capability intel when you do it. So the correct answer is a push up test. Now, a side note on the push up test. When you do this assessment, the client results won't necessarily fall into a good or bad category. Instead, the information is for you to use as you start thinking about their program design. It's also going to be incredibly valuable when it comes time for reassessment. And when you do reassessments, you're typically doing them at a time when the client is either up for renewal or you're checking back in with a client who didn't sign up for your services. So, if you're reassessing a client at the time of renewal, this helps you get armed with data as they have been progressing along their journey. So, you can say, this is where you started and this is where you ended up. You're doing great. It's just another data point to indicate their progress. Now, if they're a client that has not signed up with you, chances are they're not going to see the same amount of improvements as they would have seen if they worked with you. So, again, it's great data to use when you have that conversation with them. Now, when doing a push up test, What you want to do is you want to remember to modify to their starting level. So if they can't do it on their toes, have them do it on their knees. You can also have them do a wall push up. You can also have them do a bench push up. And the intent is that you're counting the number of repetitions that they can do in 60 seconds. And as you're counting those number of reps, at the same time, you're keeping a watchful eye on any movement impairments that they might have. A push up test falls into our CPT anchor of movement patterns. And remember, we've got that core four learning model. And in the core four learning model, it is four topic areas that fall into more than one testing domain. So, with movement patterns, this is a very straightforward question, and you're not having to analyze the overactive and underactive muscles. Instead, you just have to know a straightforward which is the best fitness assessment for a new client. And because of its simplicity, it falls into the knowledge category, which is the baseline part of how we progress you through the learning phase. There you have it, a simple CPT test question looking at fitness assessments. Remember, our core four learning model is what gets NFPT students the highest pass rate in the industry. And since the most successful trainers start here, get everything you need to pass your CPT with confidence in under 60 days. But if you're already enrolled in another CPT, we can still help. Check out our recorded exam prep webinar series, which is designed to help any overwhelmed or struggling CPT student pass their exam. So it supplements any program that you might be in. And of course, don't forget to subscribe so you can get even more prep during your CPT journey. Thanks for joining. Be well and keep moving. Today's episode is brought to you by Summit Professional Education. Unlock your potential with Summit Professional Education, your trusted partner for expert-led courses, flexible learning, and essential CEUs. Elevate your skills today at summiteducation.com.